The whole premise behind the public comment period is that every comment that comes in is important. For one of the codes that I worked on, individually there were about 30,000 comments, even though it was only from maybe 4,500 to 5,000 survey respondents, because people have the ability to comment on every section and subsection of the code. We have to take all of those comments, as many as 75 from one person, and make some sense out of them and put them in a presentable format for the Code Development Committee.
It's a crazy idea. It's an idea that a large number of people gather for an extended period of time, work very hard and very diligently to come up with a code of practice, a series of recommended care and handling procedures that are then made available writ large to virtually anyone who wants to comment. And that those comments are taken in en masse, and then that they are carefully reviewed, and then they are scrutinized and integrated into the process just like anybody else who might be at that table along that 2.5-year process of developing a code.
Most of us don't grow up on farms or have a strong affiliation with rural Canada anymore. So there's going to be a limited amount of understanding about agricultural practices. And honestly, that's okay, because opinions are important as well. So people who feel strongly about animal welfare should certainly be participating, and they should certainly be telling the code development committees and the commodity groups what they think about welfare on farms in Canada. So the public comment period is 60 days that anybody in Canada, whether it be a farmer, a processor, just a consumer, anybody in Canada can go online and they can see where the Code Development Committee landed during its code development process and get them to weigh in on and validate the progress that has been made so far.
After a respondent pushes send on their feedback, it goes to the code manager. And as the code manager, we review all the comments and we spend some time trying to organize them and make some sense of them for the Code Development Committee review. So we take time to group like comments, so maybe comments with similar intent, or maybe comments with all with concrete suggestions would be grouped together, just to try to organize it a bit so when the Code Development Committee members get it, it's a little bit easier to sift through at the meeting.
There's no computer analysis, it's really all, it's human beings reviewing the comments and making final decisions on what to do. And those are not easy. There's a lot of dilemmas, there's a lot of trade-offs.
In some cases, comments will be made that code committees have reviewed carefully already, that they have gone through, weighed and balanced, and have landed on certain positions, and those do not necessarily change or augment considerably. In other cases, there are changes that are made. Sometimes there are changes to wording, sometimes there are other kinds of minor changes that are introduced as a result, and sometimes there are considerable changes made as well. Sometimes comments will come in at a kind of a right angle to a code, and they will result in a fair amount of overhaul to the code itself. We try to, if we can, probably try to take comments of all different shapes and sizes, of all different natures, science, experience, anecdotal, heartfelt, and try to sort of blend all those together.
This is not a numbers game. The more times a comment comes in does not necessarily mean that the Code Development Committee is going to give it any more thought or consideration than if it only came in once.
Having the same comment submitted multiple times or into multiple sections, in some cases adds noise to the background for the Code Development Committee and the Code Manager to sift through.
Some people also provide positive comments, and we need that as well. We need to know what shouldn't we change about the draft. What did we get right? Sometimes we get a lot of insights on this section is overall really well supported, and that's hugely valuable as well. I know of lots of standards that are developed in other countries or in other sectors where there is no public engagement, and I think our codes are better for the fact that we involve a much wider group of people. It's producing ultimately a more sustainable document, I think a wiser document, where the decisions are longer lasting and just much more thought has gone into it.
It's absolutely remarkable that at the end of the day we have these codes where every word, every single word in them has been agreed to by everybody sitting around that table.
It's a difficult process, but yeah, it's human beings with a really hard job to do, I think.
It's really an honor to serve as a code manager. It's an honor to receive those very personally articulated comments that come in from the public. We extend that opportunity to them as partners. And so the code would never be what it needs to be if we didn't have a public comment period.